through that whole time, I'm like, I need a store. I want to start a store. I want to have my own place to sell my own things.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Why Bother, the podcast where we explore why creative makers bother doing things the hard way. I'm your host, Gareth Davies from Maker House, and we're honored to have our guest today, Paula Nepons from Ondarez. And also, she has two businesses from Beandigen Cafe. Welcome, Paula.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's so exciting. I love doing these things.
Yeah, we can't wait to chat more. And we've already had some great conversations off camera. So we're going to start with something fun. And then we're going to get into more of the background of your businesses and your motivations. We call this
Bother, not bother.
That means you get to answer one of those two things. You either like this thing or you don't. Okay? Rapid fire. Here we go. Coffee.
Bother.
Well, you own a cafe, so that's kind of a softball. Yeah. She crushed it. Okay, TikTok. You own two businesses. Are you on the talk?
Not bother.
Okay. Let's get into scents because we carry Ondarez candles at Maker House, and it's how we got to know you. Cedar.
Bother.
Me too. Huge fan of cedar. Lavender.
Not bother.
Okay. Sweetgrass.
Bother.
Rose.
Not bother.
Okay, so like the florals are not really okay, not your thing. Let's talk about food. Bannock.
Bother. Well, I make it, so I eat it regularly.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
you get the skills. Yeah. Do you serve it at all?
Yes, at Beandigen Cafe has bannock. Yep.
Awesome. And for folks listening, we'll put the links in the down below so you can check out Beandigen Cafe. It's located at Lansdowne in Ottawa, so definitely check that out. Last one here. Reading the comment section.
Not bother.
No. We talked about that and how like it can just like change your mood. It kind of reveals the worst in people. Let's get into how you started these businesses. Why did you bother creating something like Ondarez? And then maybe further down the road, I know Beandigen Cafe started more recently. Why did you bother to start your own business?
So I was a creative person since I was a young person. So, and when I was a teenager, I really wanted to bring out designs and our artwork from our own people and where I come from. So I started with my cousin a t-shirt design just in high school, and she sold it, but I gave her the designs and she did that. Then after that, I kind of was like, okay, could be something. And then I would always make things myself, like make my own clothes, make when
you were growing up.
When I was growing up, and when my babies were small, I would make them different things. So in 2008, I've said, you know what, this is probably something I should do right now because I love it. I love getting myself out there. I love my products. I love the fact that we should be doing our own thing as Indigenous people, Anishinaabe, our designs, and, really promoting that we have a good life. This is a good life where we come from. Yeah. So I said, well, we're going to put this on a shirt. And one day I was on Facebook because that's the Facebook time. It just started.
Yeah, it was like the first few years. And
it said, and everyone was saying, well, I'm on the res, which means like I'm on the First Nation. So I was like, hey, that sounds like a really cool name, like On the Res. But I thought, well, how can we make it like a name where a brand that everything could, sort of go under it. So I called it Ondarez, put one name together and
your own word,
my own word. Yeah. And it came from On the Res, but I really wanted to brand it.
It tells the story where you started. So where did you actually grow up?
On a First Nation called the Tikmekshing Anishinaabe by Sudbury, Ontario. Okay. So I grew up, born and raised. We didn't have a school, but I went outside the reserve to go to school. So I went into university and things like that. So, but that's always been my home. My parents are there. My family's there. Everybody in the land.
Travel back quite a bit.
I go visit regularly.
Very cool. So Ondarez goes way back to even being a teenager. Yeah. And how did it start?
So it started out with t-shirts, sweatshirts, and then I went out on the powwow trail, in the community. I would sell them and people would be like, I want those sweaters, and it was really, really, really something at the time was like, wow, this is amazing.
Validating.
Yeah.
To find a market for your design.
And people really loved it because they felt connected to it. And that's what Ondarez too is connection. It's connection to something, whether you're Indigenous or not. You have a connection to some sort of land or people somewhere. So that's about what that is, because that's my connection.
Right.
But then as I moved on with Ondarez, I thought, I can do a lot more things. So I've always been sewing, making regalias, making
nice.
Bags, like handbags with different, all kinds of creations. And jewelry, I would make jewelry,
nice.
Do beadwork and things like that. So I decided that, I can include all those things in Ondarez. But how I did the candles was not quite the best story, but in 2018, I've been doing Ondarez since then, and my husband passed away.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, tragically. But I wanted to find a way to honor him, right? And to have that connection with him all the time. So I said, I want to, so I had candles. I had different candles or whatever. And I thought, why can't I make these? Make these candles.
Yeah.
So, I made the candles, to have that connection, but also sweetgrass, cedar, to bring those, again, connection to who we are and where we come from in a form of a candle, but also with the fire, your honor. And I used a wood wick, which, reminds you of a fire. And for us, for anyone, fire is very symbolic of supporting yourself, connection to the land. Fire is very important.
Sustenance, and survival, and gathering too around the campfire.
So that's the story of the candle. And I know it seems a little sad, but it's okay. I'm doing well.
I mean, it's actually, I'm glad to hear, I guess it's been about 5 years since your husband passed, and you've turned it into something positive with an honored project, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And what was your husband's name?
His name was Gilbert.
Gilbert. Awesome. So Gilbert lives on.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing that story. It's very personal, but we're here to learn more about why you do what you do.
Exactly.
So, that's pretty powerful to hear. Tell us, what is Beandigen Cafe, and why did you already had a business, you're already so busy. Why did you take that plunge?
Well, Beandigen Cafe is, I guess, an extension of Ondarez, because through that whole time, I'm like, I need a store. I want to start a store. I want to have my own place to sell my own things. And this opportunity came up at Lansdowne because they wanted to promote small businesses. And I was part of this Indigenous tourism course with Ottawa Tourism.
Okay. They want to create more space for Indigenous culture, which is great.
They encouraged me to put in an application. And I thought, who would want this in Lansdowne? Because Lansdowne is a certain demographic.
Feels more big box.
Yeah.
And,
so I thought,
big development. Yeah.
I'll try my best. I'll put in a proposal, and then my daughter Jade, she's like, well, why don't we put the cafe in there? And we, because she worked in different cafes and things like that.
Nice.
She's like, let's do a cafe. We'll do all our stuff, because she's a maker too.
Cool.
And we'll put all our stuff in there, and then we'll have a cafe. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a great idea. So we put the proposal, and they took it, and they came, and they wanted us to do it. So they gave us so much support. Obviously rent is crazy. So, but it's reduced rent and things like that.
Cause you get rolling.
Yeah. So people always say, how do you afford this? Well, that's how.
There's some help. And it's great for them because they get an element that, can't come from a big corporation. They get something authentic, Indigenous representation, and all the people who go to Lansdowne are going to appreciate something different too. It's not just another big box store.
We get that all the time. People come in, they always say, I love this. It's good to have small business. It's even a independent coffee shop. We really are a coffee shop too. It's a full-fledged coffee. We serve espresso, good, nice. Quality coffee. We really appreciate the coffee too. So that's why we bother coffee.
Yeah.
And
you do it the hard way.
Yeah. So
that's great. What is something else in your business that you do the hard way? Something specific that you choose?
Well, one thing I've always questioned myself on is why I make everything myself.
Okay. Yeah. Well, like many makers, right?
Yeah. Like the t-shirts, they could be printed by someone else, like a bigger company that has like bang, bang, bang. But I like to silk screen from start to finish. Like I actually create the design. I have this little silk screen set up in my house.
You make the screens.
I make the screens right from the start. Like I love that process.
Pulling the ink.
Ink. I dry them, and I do it all myself. Sometimes I question that. It takes a lot. Why do I do that? Because I could get someone else to do it. Even like the print on demand kind of stuff. Like I still question, like maybe I could do it that way. That's fast. But then there's quality in that too, So I worry about quality. I like to see it. And if there's a mistake, it's my mistake, I like the process of and I guess it gives you that accomplishment to be able to do that and produce like these things in these beautiful, even the candles, I make them all myself.
You still pour them all yourself?
I pour everything myself. And so I could get another candle company to do that for me too. But again, there's like that separation that I feel, because that's like a part of me, right?
Yeah.
Like I told you my story about my candle. How can I get someone else to do that for me?
It would feel like it's losing some of that meaning and connection. So Ondarez may be limited in its overall growth by your own capacity and your own time.
But even like Beandigen, so that was a place for our products, like myself and my daughter, to put our own products in there. But I can't even put enough, like I can't stock a store. So we do have other artists in there, which is, how we kind of build the store.
Yeah.
But it was initially for us to have our products, but I don't even have my own products in there because I'm just so busy.
Yeah. It's very noble of you to stick to the vision and recognize in yourself that what is more important to you to this point is doing it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I do reckon. And I see a lot, like I'm involved in a lot of business things, and I see things, and I thought, well, how do people get there? And it is letting go of some of those things. Yeah. It's letting go of not being able to do it yourself. It's letting someone, hiring good people, and letting people into your little circle. And as an Indigenous woman, sometimes I feel really like scared to let go of that too, because I don't want anyone to steal things or someone who has the capability to go big, take something from me. Yeah. And like there's a lot of those little things that happen.
Flags that come up that other people might not experience the same. So I can imagine it's not like a simple question, but you've also been able to let go with Beandigen because you've got Jade running that.
So she is the manager. She co-owns Beandigen. So I'm really, really proud of her and proud of what we built there. So we started out very small. Like everything is very small, like to the tables, to everything was borrowed. We, just gathered what we could.
Yeah, get it off the ground. We had our bar was like really homemade and it was really shaky. Okay. Not very nice. But we just dealt with it for how long? But we just recently, as of yesterday, got a brand new bar. It's beautiful, sweet. Custom made. Oh, we love it so much. Big level up.
Yes.
So on the flip side of doing things the hard way, sometimes we choose to do things more conveniently. And it could be an example from your own life or someone else like out in the world who does things the easy way to save time or money. Can you think of any examples? And this is something we like to call the
cost of convenience,
because there may be a hidden cost to it.
One thing that when you talk about that is I do a lot of things. So one thing I do is a good life planner. I design it and on the computer, and then I send it to a printer. So I actually let it go.
Good.
I let them do it, and they actually ship it for me too.
Nice.
So that is one thing that I have come to realize that, oh my God, I can let things go.
Yeah.
And she's wonderful. And she's not Indigenous. To me, getting Indigenous people to do the work for me is very important.
Right.
But
try and create more opportunities.
Yeah.
for people in your community.
But at the same time, that's one thing I let go too, because she's wonderful. She knows what she's doing.
You have a good relationship.
Yes.
Still.
And I created that and she's so supportive of what I'm doing. So for me, I let that go. So that's easy for me.
Yeah,
and I send her the file and bang, she does it all. She says, here it is. I go pick up one copy and she sends it to me. I don't even know how we do that, and I'm like, that sounds good. And
so
then
you get the sample,
yes,
you quality check it. So you're able to work around the concerns that might come up with letting things go. So that's great. That is the end of our first segment. We're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And then we're going to keep the conversation going. So for folks who are watching or listening, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, or share the podcast so you can be updated when we have new episodes. We'll be right back with Paula from Ondarez and Beandigen Cafe. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Why Bother? We're here with our guest today, Paula Naponce from Ondarez and Beandigen Cafe. I'm your host, Gareth from Maker House. And we're going to jump right back in with some fun facts related to your business. So in the traditional medicine wheel, there are 4 directions, 4 medicines, and they all represent different things. So for example, cedar is known to represent grounding or purification and balance. Can you teach us a little bit more, because you've been working and knowing about the medicine wheel, and it actually plays into your business a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, the medicine wheel is like a guide. It's your guide that anyone could use, because we do have 4 directions in this world. Everyone goes in their own direction, but also it represents the body, mind, spirit, and emotions. So those are the 4 things that every one of us have. And we need to address and take care of all of those, and to have balance in your life. So when you think of it, so if you're not exercising and your health is not well, how is that affecting the rest of your life? Right. Or if you're health, or if you're feeling not accomplishing anything, or you're feeling down, that affects your whole other, like why you're not exercising, or, so it's all emotional. Like if you're angry, or if you're feeling angry all the time, that affects everything. So you have to find that balance. Yeah. So how I did it and how I do it is I created called Good Life Planner. So in Anishinaabe culture, Mino Bimaadiziwin means the good life. So that good road and it encompasses many, many things, not just your 4 parts of self, but all the things that you put in your life. Yeah. It's that circle. So the 4 parts of yourself, and to find balance, like we're all busy. I'm a business person, I'm a mom, I have a family. So, and we all have our different things in our lives. So this planner was to address some of that. So I use the medicine wheel, and then every month you're able to look at that medicine wheel and see how you're going to physically help yourself, how you're going to balance that, how you're going to deal with your emotions and your spiritual self. So spiritual self doesn't mean like you're going to church or you're doing all kinds of spiritual things. It means connecting to people. How are you doing that? Are you going to the land? Are you going outside?
It could be nature as well.
Could be however you find your spirit.
Yeah.
And then emotional, like
I love that.
I'm not going to be angry this month. I'm going to work on my anger, or I'm going to be happy. I'm going to tell jokes, just finding ways that you can do this throughout your month, and then you put it in your plans. Like that's part of your plan. So that's how I put my life in sort of order. I mean, it doesn't go,
and find perspective.
Yeah. And it doesn't always work, but at least I have like certain things that I want to work on.
A bit of a guide each month.
So that for me, the medicine wheel is very important. And that's how I use it in my business.
That's so cool. So your Good Life Planner, how do I pronounce the word? Is it
Mino Bimaadiziwin?
Mino Bimaadiziwin.
Yeah, Mino Bimaadiziwin.
Mino Bimaadiziwin.
Yes.
Okay. That's based around the medicine wheel, finding balance. Very, very cool. And people can find this planner in the cafe or on your website?
Well, it's a yearly planner, so it starts from January to December every year.
Okay.
But it's all my own designs. Like I draw it, I put them all in the It's all my thoughts. Like there's places to write your good thoughts, places to reflect on what things that you need to work on and what things that it's a very beautiful, I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I sell every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
so cool.
people love it because it's different. It's not just writing your appointments every month. It's, dealing with your whole life, not just, making sure you go to that appointment or,
Yeah. And it's Indigenous, like it's grounded in your culture, the teachings.
And because I would, and the reason why I did that is because I can't find a planner that I can relate to.
Right.
Like me as an Anishinaabe, I can't find that. So I created it, and that's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's talk about that motivation of creating something that you didn't see. So growing up, you were telling me you didn't have a lot of business idols who were Indigenous to look up to. And that was actually motivating for you.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, like Indigenous businesses wasn't as like prominent and promoted as it is now. Like I can't even say who I looked up to when I was growing up. I mean, I could say personally, but like in the business world, I can't really. So it was like, okay, well, as I grew up, I think, and I thought, I need to do this. I need to, for myself, I like to get out there and I want to promote who we are in a good way. We hear a lot of things that aren't going well and traumas and all that. We always hear that. But I always was like, okay, well, we have to, show these beautiful things
the beauty of the culture,
beauty of who we are and how we're still here after so many years, right?
Yeah.
Thousands of years, and how we're going to move forward with this beauty and how we could use it to move forward. So I've always had that in my mind. And when I started the t-shirts, that was the main. So, I guess I started a little bit of a craze, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you're part of that, the movement, right? And younger generation, like your daughter, of course, and your kids are going to look up to you, and other young Indigenous entrepreneurs are going to say like, wow, now I can see it's possible. And they, may go to your cafe and be like, wow, like a place like this exists. So that's really cool. Do you have any tips that you want to share for aspiring makers, whether they're Indigenous or otherwise?
One thing I have been learning, and it really has come to the front, is that you could start small. Start small, but think big. So if you just have one thing that you want to do, go with that one thing, really work on it, perfect it. And then, either promote that one thing. If that's all you can do at that time, do that. Because when you let everything sort of cloud your, like, you have to go there, do this, have that, that really like sometimes brings you down and you don't go forward because you're saying, well, I don't have it all.
I can't do it today.
I can't do it because I don't have the beautiful building. I don't have the beautiful studio. I don't have all the equipment, but maybe you have your paper and pen. Right. Nowadays, you can go far with a paper and a pen. Yeah. So it's like, just start there, because one thing a day will get you to bigger things.
Yeah.
And I shared with you about my the bar at our cafe. Like, we started with a rickety thing, and people would shake it and we'd be scared, like, don't touch kind of thing. But now we have a beautiful bar, and it took us a year. Yeah. A year is long, but it's not that long, There's so much wisdom in sharing these things because other people may be going through them quietly. So it's important for people to recognize that everybody starts small. They start somewhere, and then that's your foundation. And you just level up incrementally from there and look for ways to grow. And that's part of why we're at Beandigen too, is, we want to be a place where Indigenous artists can come, and maybe they do have just two things, but we'll sell it for you and we'll help you, and we'll guide you and we'll promote you and we'll do what we can for you. So that's our little part of helping someone else. Yeah. But that's also a whole other thing too. But it's a lot of work as well. Yeah. To be that resource for people and that hub. So good for you. And I mean, it's not always an easy growth path either. There are
there are like some big wins, seeing your work get out there, finding new customers, creating relationships with, at Lansdowne, growing into that space. What about like the really challenging times? Have you had any like big business crises or disasters where you had to react and kind of work through it?
Well, I think one thing that I find is a disaster for me or like a crisis, and it's an ongoing, is like the accounting. And that's another thing, in business we all have to make sure. But that is not my jam, I'm not a money person. I have money, and sometimes one of the bigger things that really makes me feel bad sometimes is I make money and then I don't know where it went,
Right. Yeah. Cause
I feel bad about that.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because it should be taken care of better. But I've learned, I've learned that accountants are your friends. So that's one of my tips and especially for Indigenous people, it's scary because our relationships with money, gaining wealth might be a little bit different than everyone else. Like, cause there's so many parts to it.
Layers of colonialism, right?
Yeah. So for us to get an accountant seems like a far out idea.
Yeah.
Why would we get an accountant? They're just going to take my money.
It's a good point.
So we have to change our thinking that, there are Indigenous accountants, which I've been trying to find and use, who have the same values as
bookkeepers,
me. Or bookkeepers.
Yeah.
So, that's what I mean about our circles. What I'm trying to do is use all these people. So I'm here. This is a whole other thing.
In the center, yeah.
I'm the center, so my business is here. But if I look, and I'm right here. So if I start using an Indigenous accountant, just think, Indigenous carpenter, Indigenous person. Look at how much more space we're taking up in this world.
Yeah.
Once we start using our own people.
Yeah, building momentum.
And then we're going to have taking up more and more space if we keep. So then this one starts using the carpenter. This one starts using that accountant. Look at how much more space we're going to be taking up.
I love that. Yeah.
It's amazing.
And the seed was all like this young girl on the res.
Yes.
Thinking about how can I bring this show to more people? How can I bring our culture and your creative design? So good for you thinking big picture. So think big, but start small. Great advice. We are going to take a quick break and we'll be back for our third final segment. And we're going to have some fun. We're going to sample some food from the shop.
Okay.
So stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in if you're watching or listening, and we'll be right back. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Why Bother. We're here with our guest, Paula Nepons from Ondarez and also from Beandigen Cafe. And we're going to jump into some food sampling. So Paula got to pick from different things we carry at Maker House in our fine food section. And she chose some Heritage Bee honey. So which flavor did you want to try?
The cinnamon.
The cinnamon. All right. Cinnamon is a bother. Yes for you.
Yes.
We should have asked that one. We're going to pop the cinnamon though. I'm going to do it right by the mic so people who are listening get a little sense here. All right. So we've got our jar open. We've got our spoons. We're going right in here, Paula.
Just go right in?
Just go right in. Get a little bit of that fresh cinnamon cream honey.
I love it. Totally would put on my toast.
Yeah.
Or even bannock.
So, instead of making cinnamon toast the hard way, which would be butter.
Well, we we sell bannock at Beandigen Cafe. It's a baked bannock, so it's like a little scone, but that would taste delicious on there. Nice. Oh, nice.
It does remind you of cinnamon toast.
Yes.
So lots of different ways to use it. We're going to send you home with a jar of that so you can play with it at the cafe. And shout out to our friends at Heritage Bee. They make amazing products you can find on our website, Maker House, or just Google Heritage Bee, and we'll throw the link down below for you folks. All right, back to the conversation. I'm going to ask you a couple more questions here. What is your biggest hobby or passion outside of work?
Well, I did start watercolor painting. So I actually bought some watercolors and a book that I try and do every day. Like it just to figure. I'm not a watercolor
just
artist,
learning.
but just putting it out there, because that was one thing I wanted to do, was like just try new things that I don't ever have done. So have never done. So I just do it every day.
Yeah.
Well, not every day, but every time I can. But watercolor is
cool.
fun.
That's your latest thing. And I feel like your bucket list is probably the longest of anyone I know, because you are like a Renaissance woman. You're trying to learn and become like a little bit good at it.
Yes.
Let's ask another question. Which famous person would you spend a day with if you could pick anyone?
I grew up a hockey person. So I actually played hockey, ringette first and then hockey,
Nice.
but I've always been loving hockey. So one of my idols is Mark Messier. So I would want to spend a day with
Moose.
Mark Messier because I love the Oilers. I love when they won Stanley Cup. It was just, I was like a teenager. So I was like, I just loved it.
Yeah.
So Mark Messier.
That's so cool. Mark, if you're out there listening, you got to come to Ottawa and meet Paula.
Yes.
He'd probably love to meet you too. I feel like you're way more fascinating than he is. But that's really cool. I'm also a big hockey fan, so I can relate. And that's awesome. All right. Back to kind of a bring it all home kind of a question. This is something we like to call the
point of connection.
Tell us how human connection factors into your business or your life.
So for me, human connection, that's what I do in almost everything. It's to connect to each other, connect to my community, my people, where I come from, my family. So that's very important for me. And that's my authentic self, is to be connected to that. And that's where that brings me forward. That's, propels me forward. I think about, even like I talked about my husband passing away, but I've had so many losses and really special people in my life. And I think about them, and I think that, I'm doing part of this for them too, because they didn't have a chance, because they either died younger and
they would be so proud.
And they're in with me, with me going forward. So I think about that. Even my ancestors, like, way back, I'm doing a lot of this for them too. And because they did a lot for us to be here still.
Right.
So I think for me, that's the connection. That's the human connection. And also treating, your whole world as connection. So like the earth is connection, friends are connecting. So it's like there's more connection to this world than we think, not just your family or your immediate family or the people that you see every day. It's like
recognizing the interdependency of it all, how we impact each other.
Exactly. So if we're not kind to the earth, maybe to even like the air, everything around us, it's gonna have effects on other people, yourself as well. That's really sage advice. So thank you for sharing that. What's the biggest focus for you this year in your business, or where can people find you if they want to learn more? So I do have a website. So it's called ondarez.com.
Okay. Ondarez, but we're going to put that link for you folks down below.
So that's my website. And then Beandigen.ca is where the Beandigen Cafe is.
Right.
So one thing that I did want to focus on, and coming here today really helped me focus on that, is I want to get my products more into Beandigen. So get the candles there, get my shirts, get things rolling again. Yeah. Because, certain things have happened and I just haven't been focusing on my own products. So I really want to just, get a new product lined out, really get and, just focus on that.
Have a steady stock of your products in the store. Of course, there are, like you said, other Indigenous makers who are represented. So folks who go down any day are going to still get a good taste of the culture. But people want your stuff, Paula.
I know.
You're the star of the show.
Yeah. And my daughters always tell me, everybody's always asks where your stuff is. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I'll get it done.
You did mention, so you during the break, Rain is your other daughter who works at the cafe too. So Jade and Rain, by the way, coolest names ever. They're holding it down. So shout out to both of them as well.
Yes, for sure.
And good for you to raise such amazing daughters to be, at 19 working and helping to run a business.
They're amazing. These girls, they always, I when I raised them, I just sort of do things, right? And I never ever said, oh, you guys got to do it this way or that way or this way. And for them to just sort of take this on is really like, I guess, a full circle moment, because I'm like, wow, they actually see what I did. They appreciate.
Close to mom too,
and they have visions of maybe doing something themselves one day. Because for me, Beandigen, I'm letting that go to Jade. Like I'm still there, but she's the one that does all the work there.
Yeah.
Like my products will be in there, but she runs it. She co-owns it. So
and in your early 20s to be doing that,
exactly.
That's amazing. It's super impressive.
Yeah.
So clearly you've done a lot right, and you've set them off on a good path with a really good foundation. And that inspirational role model that you might not have had as much in your community or in the business world, you're there. You're the icon that they can look up to. So, good job.
Thank you. Miigwech.
Well, chi miigwech for being here.
Thank you.
For coming on the podcast today. It was really nice to talk to you a bit more. We're busy, so we're usually talking about just ordering some more candles. And now we get to learn more and really solidifies why we want to work with you and even grow that. Maybe we'll get your shirts in one day. You can make a few.
Okay.
And thank you.
One place at a time.
Start with your cafe. But thank you all for watching as well, or listening and tuning in. Please do like and share and subscribe so we can grow with you and you can stay updated about new episodes. This has been another episode of Why Bother with Paula, and we will see you next time.